Week 14. What games are we watching?
All right, so as always, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to start it off, and again, I do this by window. So in the 1 o'clock window, I got the Colts at the Bengals. Gardner Minshew, Jake Browning, two backup quarterbacks fighting for AFC wildcard contention. Can both of them keep up their hot streaks? The next game in the 1 o'clock window I'm keeping my eye on is Bucks Falcons. These two teams played in Tampa a couple weeks ago. Again, Tampa should have won. They turned the ball over way too much. Atlanta came away, escaped with victory. If Tampa wins this game, they are actually in position to go win the NFC South somehow. A very important game in that future division. The 4 o'clock window. Bills, Chiefs, obviously, we talked about it earlier, a huge game there. And then Seahawks, Niners in San Francisco. I told you I don't think Seattle can match up with San Francisco. Seattle is a very desperate team, however. San Francisco came off the beatdown of Philly. This is a divisional game. I think Seattle plays them better than what they played San Francisco 2 weeks ago. I think it'll be very hard to beat a team down the way San Francisco beat down Seattle like that 2 times in 3 weeks. I think Pete Carroll will make adjustments. I think it'll be a closer game than what many people think. But I think San Francisco will probably ultimately come out victorious. And then obviously, we all know the game of the week this week is 8:22 Sunday night football. We talked about it for the first 20 minutes on this show. Eagles, Cowboys, doesn't get any bigger. Both games, by the way, that I put in my top 5 of games to watch this year. I had Bills, Chiefs, I had Eagles, Cowboys both times on that list. It seems like week 14 is set up to give us 2 to 3 potentially great games this season.
I love that how the NFL schedule makers did this. They backloaded the back half of the schedule, giving us the great games late in the season when playoff seeding is on the line, division titles are on the line, number 1 seed in the NFC and the AFC. You get where I'm going with this. All right. I agree with you. Number 1 is obviously Eagles, Cowboys. We talked about it. I don't need to go into detail there. Number 2, Bills, Chiefs. Bills, they're fighting for their playoff lives. We have a lot of questions about the Chiefs. Number 3, I'm going to Baltimore. The LA Rams taking on the Baltimore Ravens. The Rams, they have climbed back up, and they are now in position to possibly make the playoffs. The Ravens, we were talking about it earlier, they're trying to possibly get the number 1 seed and get the AFC Championship out of Kansas City. Something has to give in this matchup. And I think because of the consequences of it, it makes it a big game to watch. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think Baltimore is going to pull what they did to Detroit and pull to Seattle. I think Baltimore blows out the Rams here. I think the Rams are a nice story. Obviously, they have good offensive pieces. I don't think they're going to keep up with Lamar Jackson and those Ravens. I think the Rams come back down a little bit to earth this weekend, going from the West to the East Coast.
Okay. I could see that happening. But even with that being said, I still think it's a very intriguing game given the consequences that could come out of it. I agree with you about Colts Bengals. And then for my last game, I'm going to our game here in Cleveland. Jacksonville at Cleveland. The Jaguars, they could be without Trevor Lawrence. We don't know right now. The line has actually flipped because the Jaguars were favored by like 4.5, I think it was, on going into Monday. Now the Browns are, I think, 3-point favorites. The Browns have gotten beaten up a little bit these past 2 weeks out west. Now they're coming home to play a AFC playoff contender. The Browns are trying to stay in the wild card race themselves because they've got Indianapolis breathing down their neck. They've got Houston breathing down their neck. Denver is breathing down their neck. Buffalo. So you've got a lot of teams behind you, and Indianapolis. I almost forgot about them.
No, you mentioned them.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to include Pittsburgh because
Well, I mean, Pittsburgh's still technically alive. I think they're going to still find a way to win games, especially when you go up against New England this weekend. But I think the Browns last night caught the biggest break in the whole world when Trevor Lawrence went down. Because I don't care what Jacksonville says. I don't think he's playing this weekend. I don't see any way or how. I think it's going to be C.J. Beathard against Joe Flacco, who I know he's on the practice squad, but he's protected. The Browns are going to bring him back up. It's a roster move. I think everybody in the world knows Flacco's going to probably start. I'd be absolutely shocked if he does not start on Sunday against the Jags.
So, one quick thing before we move on here. Going into the game against the Rams, I said the Browns were probably only going to win 2 or 3 more games the rest of the way. And those games were Week 15 against the Chicago Bears, Week 17 on Thursday Night Football against the New York Jets, and Week 18 on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. I thought we were going to lose to the Rams, maybe not by that big of a margin, but nonetheless, I thought we were going to lose to the Jaguars. This, of course, I was saying that before the Trevor Lawrence news came out, and also the Christian Kirk news came out, which that's a huge loss.
That's a good point. That's a huge loss for Jacksonville.
I said we were going to lose to Houston because Houston has been playing well offensively, but we know what happened with Tank Dell, so maybe.
Do you know I just gotta tell you this while you're going to the schedule. Do you know the Browns' road and home defensive splits? Have you seen that?
No, but
okay. I'm gonna give you a startling stat because I think it's one that you need to hear.
Go.
At home this year, and again, I don't know if it's quarterbacks, I don't know if it's run, I don't know what it is. At home this year, the Browns are giving up 10 points a game.
Interesting. On
the road this year, the Browns are giving up 30 points a game.
What the hell? The Browns are 5-1 at home. Their only loss was in Week 4 against the Baltimore Ravens, where Dorian Thompson-Robinson didn't know he was starting until either Saturday night or Sunday morning. I don't remember all the details on that, but they've beaten Cincinnati at home. They've beaten Tennessee at home, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, which, again, I genuinely don't know how the Browns won that game.
I'll tell you how. It was bad weather. They got pressure in Brock Purdy's face, which Philly did not do. I tell you, if you put pressure in Brock Purdy's face, Brock Purdy is not a good quarterback.
All right. But it's amazing. When I look at the Browns, I have no idea how they're 7-4.
I'll tell you this: if C.J. Beathard plays, they're moving to 8-4. I think that defense harasses Beathard. I think they make life a living hell for him. The Jaguars may put up 10 points. Browns may score 13. I think it's going to be one of those type games again. And by the way, if Lawrence plays now with this gimpy ankle, if he somehow plays, I think the Browns can still win the game. Because Lawrence will be less than 50% against that ferocious pass rush. And Myles Garrett did even play in the game against the Rams. Here we go again with 95. Where the hell is he? 95 has to have one of those Baltimore second half white games that he had in order for the Browns to win this game.
Honestly, given how he's played the last 2 weeks, I don't know who the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year is now. Because I had Myles Garrett as the favorite going into the Denver game, and then he didn't really make an impact in those last 2 games. I can't say T.J. Watt. Micah Parsons, okay, I think he has a solid case, but I genuinely don't know who the favorite is now.
I think it's going to end up being Deron Bland, the defensive back for the Cowboys, because he has the most pick sixes in NFL history in one season.
Okay.
But I think Garrett has a chance to win it back, by the way.